Charlie Kirk's story begins in the quiet suburbs of Arlington Heights, Illinois. Born in 1993, he grew up in an ordinary American household, middle class, church-going, full of possibility. But unlike many kids his age, Charlie had a knack for persuasion. While his classmates thought about prom or football games, Charlie was writing essays about politics, culture, and the future of the United States. By 18, while most of his peers were preparing for college, Charlie made a bold decision. He would skip the traditional path. He dropped out of Harper College after just one semester. Instead of lectures in dorm rooms, he chose stages, microphones, and a cause. In 2012, Kirk co-founded Turning Point USA, a grassroots organization aimed at mobilizing young conservatives. At first, it was little more than an idea, just Charlie, a laptop, and a belief that America's youth were slipping away from conservative values. But within a few years, Tbuza exploded into a national force, with chapters on campuses across the country. Some saw Kirk as a visionary, a fresh voice who could rally the next generation. Others called him dangerous, a provocateur willing to use division as a tool. Regardless of opinion, one thing was certain. Charlie Kirk was no longer just a suburban kid. He was now at the heart of America's cultural battles. Charlie didn't just build an organization. He built a brand. His podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, attracted millions of listeners. He wrote books. He shared stages with political heavyweights. And when Donald Trump rose to power, Kirk was right there beside him, one of the most loyal foot soldiers in the MAGA movement. But fame and influence came with a cost. Charlie faced relentless criticism. Protesters followed him to campus events. Social media turned him into a lightning rod for outrage. Threats, real threats, poured into his inbox. To some, he was a patriot. To others, he was a villain. Still, Charlie pressed on, fueled by faith, conviction, and a growing family. He married Erica Francois, a fellow conservative voice, and together they embraced their roles as outspoken advocates for their beliefs. Behind the headlines, Charlie was also a husband, a father, and a man who prayed nightly with his family. September 10, 2025, was supposed to be routine. Charlie Kirk had been invited to Utah Valley University to speak at a packed auditorium. Supporters gathered. Critics staged demonstrations outside. For Charlie, it was nothing new. He had faced hostile crowds before. But that evening, everything unraveled in a matter of seconds. As Charlie took the stage, delivering his opening lines, a figure emerged from the audience. In the chaos that followed, shots rang out. Screams filled the auditorium. Security rushed forward, but it was too late. Charlie Kirk was mortally wounded. By the time paramedics arrived, America's most recognizable young conservative activist was gone. News broke within minutes, racing across social media like wildfire. To his supporters, it was unthinkable. To his critics, it was shocking. To the nation, it was another reminder of how violent and divided the political landscape had become. At first, investigators suspected a random act of violence, an unhinged attacker who had snapped in the heat of a political rally. But as they dug deeper, questions emerged. The shooter wasn't a stranger. He had been following Charlie's career for years. Digging into the attacker's life revealed layers of obsession, disillusionment, and anger. What seemed at first to be a politically motivated shooting began to look more complex. Personal grievances, twisted ideology, and fixation on Charlie himself. This wasn't random. It was targeted. The deeper investigators looked, the clearer it became. The killer wasn't just trying to silence a voice. He was acting on years of resentment, a belief that Charlie Kirk personally embodied everything he hated about modern America. The killing of Charlie Kirk sent shockwaves through the United States. Vigils were held in cities and small towns. Supporters remembered him as a fearless advocate for free speech and conservative values. Critics, even those who had disagreed with him fiercely, condemned the violence. But beneath the mourning, a darker conversation emerged. Was this inevitable? Had America's divisions grown so sharp that political speech itself had become a life-threatening act? Charlie Kirk's death wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was a national reckoning. Charlie Kirk's story is not simple. He was loved and hated, celebrated and scorned. He inspired millions and infuriated millions more. But no one can deny that he left an imprint on American culture that will last for generations. He began as a small-town kid with a dream. He rose to become a national figure, a voice that could fill arenas and sway elections. And in the end, his life was cut short in a moment of violence that reflected the very divisions he spent his life confronting. His wife, Erica, and their family now carry the weight of his absence. His organization, Turning Point USA, continues. But without its founder, the path forward is uncertain. What remains is a chilling reminder. Words are powerful, ideas are dangerous, and in a nation where passions run this deep, the line between debate and violence can be razor thin.